Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rolling Stories, the podcast where we dig into the people and stories shaping the future of work. I'm Agent Tan.
I'm Manu Ketan. Today's conversation takes us into one of the most ambitious HR transformations happening out of Singapore, a story that stretches from airports to airlines, caterers to cargo.
So exactly, 2 years ago, SATS Singapore flagship gateway services company made a bold leap, expanding from 17,000 people in Asia Pacific to over 55,000 globally overnight through acquisition. The scale alone is staggering, but what's even more fascinating is how the company has been reimagining culture, leadership, and work design in real time.
So our guest today is Chee-Wei Tan, has been leading the transformation as Chief Human Resources Officer with 2 decades at Shell and now steering HR through one of the Singapore's largest integration challenges. Her journey is a masterclass in adaptive leadership and cultural engineering.
So today we'll unpack what it takes to build credibility at scale, blend legacy systems, and also to recreate jobs while operations never stop, all through the lens of a leader who's building culture as an export, not just an internal function.
Chee-Wei, welcome to Rolling Stories.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Chee-Wei, I'll start off first. I understand 2 years ago when you walked into this, what I imagine felt like an organizational whiplash. You know, the company went from 17K to 55,000 people almost overnight. Take us back to that 1 week, to that first week. What was the moment like to you when it first hit you, the sheer magnitude of how this is going to be?
Thank you. So, it has been a fantastic ride. And I must say, time flies. So it's been 2.5 years, actually, coming to 3 years since I've come on board. And whilst you all describe this as an organizational whiplash, and indeed from the numbers perspective, it certainly looks that way. But I must say that for me personally, I came on board the journey because of this globalization journey for SATS.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in a way, I expected that this was going to be part of the mandate that I have to work on creating a Singapore headquartered global company. And of course, I come from a world where it's 100,000 people and more or less, and so the scale and the size of it was for me not something that caught me by surprise in a way. But there were many assumptions that I also needed to throw out the window as I came on board to understand the context of this change and to take in as well, how it is being received, right, from within SATS. So I think that was an interesting way for me to start this journey. But I came on board because of the size and scale that we've in the journey that we've embarked on.
I'm very certain you have gone through certain assumptions, your personal expectations versus the reality when it hits you.
Yes.
For people out there, for listeners who may also be looking at something like this,
Yes.
this kind of similar challenges that they want to go into.
Yeah.
Could you help break down your thought process back then? What were some of your expectations? And also importantly, how does it differ from the reality?
And just to add to what Adrian is saying, Chee-Wei, that this is an unusual expansion, right? It is not the usual expansion. A 20,000 people company expanding to 30,000.
Yes.
Okay, I still say it's big, but it's
Yes.
usual.
Yes.
And suddenly what happened in SATS is unprecedented, actually, right?
Yes.
And the biggest thing that we look at it from a perspective of HR is, because the number is humongous, actually, right?
Yes.
You must be having some view. And then I think this is quite interesting for the audience to figure out this also can happen.
Yes.
And you look normal, which means you made it through. So yeah.
Yes. I'll start with the assumptions first.
Yes,
So,
yes.
whilst I say I was not shell-shocked coming into this, but there are some assumptions having come from a very well-established environment, right? So in the context of my previous company, for example, where we think about acquisitions and integration, it's always about making, having a pathway towards making what is acquired sort of similar to the core, because everything is very well established and there are, global standards which are very clear. So an integration path is really around, how do you close the gaps to what is already a set framework or structure or way of doing things. So one of the first assumptions I needed to throw out the window is that this is not the situation that we have, right, in the context of the journey for SATS.
Okay.
So, SATS has been very much Singapore-centric and regional. And that's the beauty of it, because the acquisition makes the footprint and the network that we have a very global one.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily have already in existence at the headquarters what is fit for purpose for a global organization. So for me, I think a big assumption was, well, okay, it's an integration journey. There's got to be a playbook, a checklist, a methodology around how you make it the same. But I quickly realized that it isn't about making what we acquired the same, because actually it's an opportunity to co-create.
Okay.
We are coming together to co-create what then is that global company, that world-class champion that we are to be. And so, it was, I think, quite a pivotal moment to come to that realization and say, that's how I would inform the work that we do going forward. It's not about making that the same as us. It is us coming together to co-create something that is global and that makes us good.
Okay.
Yeah. Another assumption that I have in the space is also that, as typical with acquisitions and integrations, is that you expect that there's a lot of overlap in which you need to address. You'd expect that a lot of synergies would come from actually, removal of duplication and things like that. But the beauty of this journey that we're on is that SATS acquired WFS, which actually has a presence that is very squarely in the Europe, EMEA region, we call it, and the Americas, where SATS was not present. So from a duplication, perspective, there's very little overlap. It really is about the functions and the corporate functions that actually string it together. But the global network is one that quite beautifully comes together. And the synergies sit really very much in the commercial space, much less around kind of, removing duplication and such. So that's another assumption, which I thought was also, something that I revisited, upon understanding the context of this specific change.
Sounds very startup-like, actually. I mean, coming in from a company like Shell,
Yes.
And it just relates a little bit to the story of what we are doing in rolling arrays.
Yes.
We have been a partner for about 15 years with SuccessFactors, which is SAP.
Yes.
And that was my world because I was working with SAP earlier, and then we worked with SAP. So we knew these are the processes, this is the hierarchy, these are the people you talk to, and that is how it is. And then you fit in, and the way you expand, you do it accordingly. And then when we became a partner of Workday, we realized it's not the same. From the outside, you feel that, it's a very big company, but then it is very agile. And the processes are different, and you can challenge the processes, work together with them, and there is a hope of flexibility. And I guess what I can correlate is a little bit, of course, in a very different setting and context, but that you came in from Shell, your brain must be wired with these set processes, and then suddenly you have an opportunity to do something which you can ask your brain, use your frameworks, new things, and try to experiment, which must be fun, I would say. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Very fun indeed. And
Yeah.
I think, you've it's exactly as you described, I would say. Yeah. It's helpful to know what good looks like, I
Yes.
feel. And then with that, understanding the differences in context.
Yeah.
And then, kind of marrying the two and being in the position to shape
Yes.
how things develop and how things can be established and institutionalized going forward.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity to be a part of.
Yeah.
That's a great point. And because based on what you've shared so far, it seems to me you already have the cheat code because of all the decades that you spent in your previous company. So you know what good looks like.
Yes.
But I also want to dive a bit into the fact that probably most of the people in SATS will still be there, especially at the higher echelon, which means they would require a different kind of mindset, going from 17,000 to 55,000. What are some of the key mindset shifts that you have to play a part in shaping or evolving, especially the senior leaders, to show them that, to let them know that, hey, we are dealing with a different monster right now. This is what are the things that have to move.
Yes. So one, of course, is what I touched on a little bit, the opportunity to co-create. So it's not about them, us, and preserving what it is versus being something completely different. So I think one mindset shift that we've had to make is to actually realize that this is not, it's not a zero-sum game. It's either or, it's an and story.
Okay.
So actually, we build on the success of what we have, right? And I'll give an example. So one of the first events that I attended after joining SATS in 2023 was the Long Service Award ceremony, which is an annual event for SATS here at the headquarters. And it was a beautiful event. It continues to be. We have hundreds of our employees who have served us for many, many years. So such that the event is actually focusing on those who are, more than 40 years who actually go on stage to receive an award. And those who are in the sort of 20, 25 year, 30, 35 actually receive it at the table initially because there's just not enough time to have everyone go on stage. Yeah. So I was very touched by the event, but it also spoke to me that this is a great company. People stay for a very long time. And so there is a reason for why things are the way they are. And, and people, embrace this. There's a lot of pride associated with, the success that we've had at the Air Hub here in Changi. There's livelihoods that we've given to scores of people who've moved across the different business units in the context of SATS. We have father, daughter, mother, son, families working in different roles within SATS, and it's a beautiful thing. So how do we build on this pride? That it isn't about changing it and, making it completely different. Now you can't be local, you have to be very global. I think it is really about building on the core of that and tapping into that pride. And therefore, it's important for our people to then realize that we have to continue to be strong at the core so that it helps us to be successful globally. So it's an and story. It's not an either or. Yeah. So I think to me that was one of the sort of, mindset shifts. And it's helped to, I suppose, for me and my team to work on that narrative, to continue and to emphasize on the pride aspects at the headquarters. We see the beautiful sense of family, which is, very central to how it feels for our employees who are long-serving, working in SATS. And so we call it SATS Fam. And we say, Fam, F-A-M, we want you to continue to have a fulfilling career with us. We want to show you our appreciation for what you do every day. And it is hard work. And we want to make sure that you feel you're making a meaningful contribution in what you're doing. And we call it SATS Fam. And really, we want SATS Fam to thrive at the headquarters because you have to continue to be very strong at the core so that you're credible and you can be successful overseas and globally. Yeah. So that was one of the shifts.
I would say, Chee-Wei, that I can feel the emotion that you bring along when you describe this. And this is one of the things that, having spent my last 16 years in HR and figuring out what are the dimensions of failure in HR. So rather than, when we think about HR, we say, oh, we're going to make it successful. We're going to do it like this. We're going to prove that HR is not a cost center. And there are many, many things. But then one of the things that I recognized is that if we can just only sit on the failure themes and make sure that are we doing something which can fail because of these, because it has been established, it works really well. And one of the things is that the people leader has the emotion of the culture when they speak, because then it just rubs on to everyone. And then when you speak and there are 20,000 people listening, they understand that you mean it and then they believe. And then it's a very easy job relatively, right? Because then you make it happen with the team. But in the beginning, if people have a resistance and don't believe in it, it's very, very tough. So when you were explaining, that is exactly what I was trying to think, that you really meant it and was coming out. If I was listening, then I would do it. And of course, I think the second thing I would like to say is that when the two organizations come together, of course, if one of the organization is bigger, which is normal, usual business play, then the second organization will merge into it.
Yes.
And that is how M&A works across the world. This was out of ordinary. But then the other thing that you are saying is that you are doubling down by adding what is good here, and you are open to understand what is good there, and then you compound that together, actually, right? And of course, being in a position to shape that, that's the statement that you made earlier. I think it is also fun to be as a leader, right, Chee-Wei? Yeah.
Yes,
I hope I picked up what you did already and what you are doing.
Yes.
And of course, the opportunity sounds fun, actually. I mean, you made it like fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I would say it's of course not all fun. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, a lot of heavy lifting as well. Sometimes it feels like, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, but net, we are making progress in the right direction. So I'm very grateful to, my colleagues, my team who have come on board and continue to work, together, towards this end. And it's very interesting also what you said about, size and, smaller and bigger, and then sort of what merges into what. And indeed, I think that was a bit of that, mindset challenge that we needed to deal with. And so, in articulating what the co-creation journey is about, my view is also that actually, if we take a step back and look at it, what is not unifying, of course, is going into something with a bit of that them and us type of mentality, right? So it's either this or that, or I'm making you the same as me, or if not, then I become like you. And for me, actually, I would look at it as that is just part of the process. That is the pathway to which we're coming together, whether it's a merger, an acquisition, in some other organizations, it's a divestment or a demerger or whatever, but those are just pathways. At the end of the day, what is the unifying pursuit that brings us together? It is to create a world-class global company.
Yeah.
So it actually, if you take a step back, does not matter who was bigger, who was smaller, whatever. The fact is, we are at this juncture. We have come together. So that is what I say to my team and to my colleagues. It's us. There's no other people who are going to make it happen. It's down to us to make it happen. So we need to unify on, the goal that we have, which is to become a global world-class champion, a company that we can all be proud of, with a global scale. So that actually is what matters. Doesn't matter the pathway to which we've come together. It's kind of like an analogy would be like getting married. It's not the wedding. It's the marriage that comes after, and the family you build and the children you have. Yeah. So I think that's a good perspective to kind of inject into all this. So we then start to focus on what is ahead versus where we all came from.
When you brought this mindset, and I think you still have that mindset, which means it worked actually great. The challenge that you had with the other side,
Yes.
did they embrace this thought and you had to just flow easily with them, or you felt it was quite hard? I mean, they came up with a different mindset, the fact that they were bigger in terms of number.
Yeah. So again, I would say, it's really hard to collapse it all into a they, right? So if I look at it in entirety, we've moved from having, for our gateway services business, 1 region to 3 regions. So how do my colleagues in the other regions feel about it? And I go back to being strong at the core. When we share about the beautiful things that Heritage SATS embraces, like recognizing the long service of our employees, it's something that speaks to our colleagues in the other regions who've come from a very different background. They've been private equity owned. They've been, they've changed hands maybe a few times. Some have grown, through small acquisitions along the way and all that. So to me, I think it is also around us being consistent in the way that we are communicating and engaging on this, our fulfilling, appreciated, meaningful sort of narrative around this, and being consistent with that to build that resonance with our colleagues in the other regions as well. So, we as leaders, when we walk the ground in the other regions, I've had colleagues from the other regions come up to me and say, it's really great to be a part of SATS because, we see the visible leadership. You take time to come and talk to us. your CEO, was just here, and it's so fantastic to see that he makes time to do the safety walkabouts and things like that, and it's over consistency and time that we will have to build that trust and to win the hearts and minds of people. And I think this is what you're seeing from an integration perspective for the global footprint that we have for SATS. It's come together not by accident, but really it's that repeated, consistent messaging that we're saying, and we are shining the spotlight on the things that matter to us at the headquarters with Heritage SATS that resonates with people, because ultimately, the context that we have across different regions, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences, because it's about the kind of work that people are doing at the front lines. And our colleagues in the other regions, as well appreciate the many things that our colleagues here appreciate from having a supportive employer, for being part of a great place to work.
I will take one statement back from this podcast today, that a great company is that where leaders win hearts and mind of the entire company. And I think if that happens, that is it actually, right? And that is why HR is at the forefront.
Yes.
And when people say that, HR is just a supporting cast, I mean, my whole life, so to say, till now,
Yes.
the 16 years of research says that no, HR is about people. It's about people leadership. At the end of the day, every business is about people.
Yes.
And if HR can do that, rather than just talking about any administrative things, that is something which HR has to do, but they will figure it out themselves. But with the board, they only talk about people leadership and how those people can make impact on the top line and bottom line. But at the end of the day, if HR can make at a leadership level the hearts and minds, they win. And I think that's about it, right, Chee-Wei, which you very nicely put it together, actually.
Yeah.
Let's go into a bit of a teachable moment, because I want to touch on some of the challenges that may have come forth from this whole thing. Because as with any form of integration, definitely there'll be some skeptics.
Yes.
There'll be people who are a bit more resistant to what this whole movement is all about. And most of these challenges, interestingly, come internally, not from competition, but usually from your own people. I'd like to understand what was the most challenging moment was for you, and how did that shift your approach as the leader?
Wow, there are many, many challenging moments. I'm not sure if it's easy for me to zoom in on one challenging moment. I'd say that it's kind of back to the theme which we touched on earlier about the them and us, right? And resistance comes up, practically speaking, through we need to do something like, so if I take an example, I don't know, one of the many integration work streams we have is around reward integration. So having consistent pay philosophy, having the same set of pay structures, leveling, substantiated by job evaluation to ensure there's equity of similar roles across different regions. Now, this is always a very sensitive area in any organization, right? To do with pay and reward and structures and such. So that is very challenging. It continues to be challenging. And so, for me, it's important to make it very clear, or make it part of the management of this change, for the constituents to understand there's nothing that we gain from changing things for the sake of changing it. So, so we need to align at the principle level of what it is that we are setting out to do as an organization. And to be a world-class, global company, you do want to enable things like talent mobility. You want your best people to be able to move and progress their careers between different roles and different geographies, for example. So actually, in embarking on something like this, which is technical, it is difficult, it's very much behind the scenes, the real the benefit of this is where you're enabling talent mobility. You're sort of rolling out the same language within the organization that people can speak, and that will enable people to be moving across roles, across different markets and geographies. So I think it's in sort of like decoding it and disempowering the contentious aspects of it, because it's not about paying people less, or it's not about, it's just to be upfront, to call it out. If that is what you're worried about, don't worry about it, because actually the reason why we're doing this is to enable talent mobility, to ensure that we are paying competitively across all of our markets in a way which is equitable. All of the things in which is a positive case for why we want to, establish this as a global company. So I think it's the patience that we'll need to invest and the efforts that we need to invest in managing that change and helping to call out what it is that is making people resist, right? And that resistance sometimes may not always be very obvious. Sometimes it's sort of, it manifests itself as maybe a lack of speed or, some other issues which are being raised, which are maybe not really very relevant. So it's really about being able to diagnose that, to put words to it. And then let's have a conversation about it. What is it that you're trying to preserve? What is it that you're afraid of losing, in this scenario? If it is about, we're going to embark on this and it's going to affect, say, pay for people, okay, let's be clear on the approach. This is not about any reductions or anything. It is just about understanding the landscape, pegging it to a consistent infrastructure that we have. And then, that's where we start. It will enable many good things for us. Yeah. So I think that would be an example of a contentious area, but there's no shortcut to it. Change management is what it takes to, to actually address that at every juncture, sometimes one person at a time, sometimes one engagement at a time. But you cannot skip that because if you don't call it out and then you let it fester, it'll blow up in a different shape and form somewhere down the road. And it's, in my experience, that's even more counterproductive than to actually tackle it a little bit more head on and just call out the concerns that people are holding back, making it safe for them to talk about it. Then we can do something about it.
I must say, Chee-Wei, that when you speak free flow, there is nuanced expertise that comes out actually. Having interviewed many HR leaders in this podcast and generally, the statements come from a lot of stuff that you would have done and then, okay, this is the distillation of that. But I want to just call that out. But on Adrian's note, I wanted to say that, was there a pivotal moment where you felt what you wanted to do or accomplish or embarked, the reason you took that role, the tide is turning or it is happening? Was there a moment like that, or you would like to describe it otherwise?
So while I speak to like many moments of challenge that I felt, I would speak to many moments of where I feel like, okay, that's a sign that things are moving in the right direction. So there are many moments, and these are the moments which are very important because they keep us going, right? I can give a couple of examples. So annually for SATS, we have two global events. Two events that have been there for heritage SATS, but we've made global through this journey. One is an annual strategy cascade event, which we call Global Connect, and it's about leadership, cascading, the key strategic priorities to the rest of the organization. And we have it initially as a face-to-face kind of big event in Singapore, with many of our staff invited to attend in person. And we have, through this journey, globalized this in the sense that we continue to hold it at the headquarters, but we ensure that our colleagues from the other regions are able to participate virtually, remotely, or thereafter, with through recordings and such, but in a different shape and form that works for their context in another location and time zone. The other event is what we call our PCEO Awards. It's basically the CEO Awards, and we have actually also globalized this. And in our integration journey, together, we have built what we call the SATS people values. Okay. So it's putting language around the pillars that underpin the culture that we want to build together. So our 5 people values are safety, customer focus, respect, excellence, and teamwork. So our PCO Awards, which has now been globalized, has categories which are, aligned to the 5 people values. We want to recognize achievements. We want to shine the spotlight on teams and individuals that live out the people values in their behaviors, in their achievements and such. So with these 2 flagship events, I would say, couple of moments that was really encouraging for me. One is I understood from some colleagues in my team that, hey, we're approaching the timeline for Global Connect. And we're getting questions from our colleagues in other regions why they haven't received the invite yet. So to me, I think, well, that's great. This is we just had our most recent Global Connect in November that just passed. It's a third iteration as a global company, and people are looking forward to it. They want to hear what we have to say from a strategy cascade perspective. To me, that's hugely encouraging. And maybe sometimes it stems from like, we sent it out, but maybe, some people didn't receive it and so on. But it's through the troubleshooting that you get the sense there's an anticipation and therefore a buy-in for that. To me, that speaks volumes. The other thing is with the PCO Awards, of course, we hold it on the back of Global Connect. It's on the same day, Global Connect in the day, and then in the evening we give out the awards for the PCO Awards, and we fly in the recipients from the other regions who are Gold Award winners in contention for the overall award winners to Singapore. So they participate in Global Connect in person, and then they join the PCO Awards in anticipation of whether they could be the gold amongst the gold winners, right, here at the headquarters.
Okay.
And leading up to that, of course, is how nominations come through from the other regions on people and teams who are deserving of the award. So it's not just gold, but there's silver, there's bronze, and it's happening in the countries, in the regions, for people to nominate and be selected and be recognized. And I saw on LinkedIn, an external platform that that many people are very active on, that there are my colleagues from, say, the US who posted a letter that they received from their regional CEO that congratulated them for being a winner at the regional level for this PCO Awards. And there's so much pride in that post by that one person to say, can you believe it? I got this letter, and it's a signed letter that actually recognizes me for that achievement. And that is very heartwarming. It's found traction. What started out as something that was a CEO award that is very SATS-centric. Yeah, we have globalized it, and now people feel proud that they have been awarded, So these are really the encouraging moments that keep myself and my team going and powering forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is touching people's heart, and it looks very easy, but it is difficult. At the same time, if leader wants to accomplish this, it's easy actually to get there, but then the thought has to be there actually, right? Yeah. But many organizations do struggle with this actually, yeah. But these are real examples of how to make it happen, I would say, Chee-Wei.
Yes, I mean, we know that with people, as you said, it is probably one of the most difficult areas where you can measure impact in a way, right? So to me, it's not easy, and you never really quite know or are 110% sure that it is all happening and it's all perfect. Never is.
Yeah.
But I think this is where we need to be able to look out for, the signs of little wins, celebrate the small successes, act our way into it sometimes, and just get the sense from various sources that we have, at on the ground, on how engagement is happening, how people are feeling engaged, and then course correct along the way and continuously, pour into the effort, because you'll never get there. It's always a continuing,
it's a journey.
Continuing journey.
Yeah,
indeed.
Absolutely. I mean, people say on a side note, people say, a lot of people say that, I want to retire. After that, I want to do this. After that, I want to do that. But the reality is that retirement is what? When you stop compromising your tomorrow, when you stop compromising your today for an imaginary tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's it, right? I mean, so at the end of the day, if you have achieved success, the company has to go on, and you have to basically go tomorrow, because there's something else that's going to change, you don't know. And then you have to fix that. And then, the thought process has to go on.
Absolutely. And then I think as well that, it's through complex changes like this that you realize that things they're not sequential. They're not always programmatic. They are emergent.
Yes.
So whatever it is that we're doing, big things, small things, whether it's an award, whether it's something strategic, whether it's something very operational, you're kind of impacting the entire system.
Yeah.
And then you touch various pieces all at the same time, and then you're watching what is it precipitating, and is that the outcome that you want? And then you have to kind of course correct along the way. You have to reinforce. You have to dial up, dial down. So it's more of an art than it is a science.
Absolutely,
I would say.
and the journey goes on.
Yes.
If it's sequential or programmatic, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Yes.
You can just read it from a textbook.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because the people are like that. Life is like that, and the business is a combination of people actually. Right? If you apply that,
So, Chee-Wei, before I let you go, then we'll move into a rapid fire segment. Like questions, just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Coffee or tea? That's the easy one to start off with. Yeah.
Tea with milk.
Oh, really? Okay. Same.
Is there any leadership book that you keep going back to?
The Bible.
Oh, wow. Okay. The mother of all books. Your go-to way to switch off after a long integration day?
Lie on my couch watching Netflix.
Okay.
I think we have a lot of commonality there. If HR has a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, to know what people are thinking about. Reading people's minds, that would be a superpower.
Oh, this is one of the best answers we've gotten so far, right, Adrian?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. If you could, best career advice you've ever received today?
Wow. It's hard to say that in a word. But I personally, if I may go into it a little bit more. So personally, of the close to 20 years I spent at Shell, 10 of those years were in global roles.
Okay.
I remember initially taking on the first global role that I did. I was very intimidated by taking on a set of global responsibilities. And because of that, I struggled because I felt like, maybe that's not the strength that I have. Maybe I'm not sure how
Imposter
to
syndrome.
actually, be global and all that. And I remember having this conversation with my boss at that time, and who remains till today my mentor. And he's British, he lives in London. And then I said, Tim, I'm not sure whether I can really be global. It's really difficult. I'm kind of struggling. And he said to me, what is global? What is global anyway? Isn't global just the coming together of locals everywhere? So what is it that you're thinking that is global, that you ought to be, that is making you feel this way? So for me, I think, that was a moment where it really sort of changed my perspective. Because many of us, I think, may think, before we embark on something that we've not done before, something that seems to be big or huge or intimidating, that there is a right answer, and I don't know whether I have the right answer. But actually, I think if you break it down, and Tim, my boss then and my mentor, is absolutely right. What is global? It's an amalgamation of local. And he said, Chee-Wei, you're as global as any other person. As global as me or any other person. So I think, that's something which I hold very close to me when I embark on something new. I think, what I'm struggling with and what I don't know the answer for, probably the next person would be as well. So how do I stay humble in this? Not to say that, I have it all and, I can do everything, but how do I stay humble in this so that I'm open to become better? But how do I also enter this with confidence? Because you need some confidence to be able to feel capable to do something about it and not be paralyzed about it. Yeah. So for me, that would be one of those leadership moments that I hold very, very close to my heart.
How many years was that? Like, when was it? Which year was it?
Oh, wow. It was probably 2013, 2012, 2013.
Yeah. It's quite eye-opening. Sometimes these kind of things happen actually, and I so resonate with it. It's just, if I may add, the reality of any initiative, whether in personal or professional life, is about identifying the emotion of the human. And that is truly, truly global and truly, truly local. Because at the end of the day, everybody may have maybe following different culture, but that's the practice. But then the human side is exactly the same. The emotions are common. And if you can just touch upon that, then you can resonate and try to work with anyone, and that's not a problem. But again, it's just a thought, actually, right? Which is exactly what I think Tim meant.
Yeah. And again, back to it's not an or. You can only be either global or local. You can be global and local.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it, because global means it's all the locals added up together, the
Yes.
diversity, the richness of the different cultures, the different perspectives we bring together.
Yeah.
But then the opportunity to co-create a corporate culture, a great company, a set of achievements that we can all be super proud of. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Although it was a rapid fire, but I think we the audience will love this answer, actually. But yeah, to our last two questions, Adrian. Yeah.
Okay, if you could automate one part of your job tomorrow, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Automate one part of my job. There's a lot that happens, right? Having a global portfolio and, having this number of things to be dealt with and to be, thinking about. So if I could automate, take away, one part of what I do, is just to be able to teleport. Not have to, drive or whatever, or, make my way or to travel and spend hours on the plane to get somewhere. I think if I could just at the snap of my fingers be anywhere, that would be fantastic.
Good answer. I mean, we have a series of answers, actually, what most of the people give. The most common answer is, I can automate my email. And then that's where we say, okay, how many times did we talk about AI? So I must say, in this entire podcast, we haven't used the word AI, which in today's world is an accomplishment, which is great. So congratulations to all of us. But then you are so futuristic from the perspective of teleport. Okay, I don't think AI can even thinking about solving that problem, but probably one day, actually. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Cool.
So I don't think we're that far away, from teleportation
Really?
and mind reading.
Okay. So, Chee-Wei, the last one
Yes.
in our rapid fire. If you weren't in HR, what would you be doing instead?
Right. I would be a journalist.
Wow.
Because when I was a student, I very much wanted to be a journalist. I am very curious about things. I love writing. I love thinking about topics and and having discussions. So in fact, when I was a student, I interned at SPH. I was at Straits Times Money Page for an internship stint, and I was also at the then TCS in one of the breakfast news programs called AM Singapore, if you remember that. So actually, I very much envisaged that after I graduated from university that I would go into, broadcast journalism, for example. But, as fate would have it, something else happened. And instead of going to journalism, my first job was actually in consulting with Accenture, at that time known as Anderson Consulting, in the change management practice.
Okay.
So that's
how you land up in HR.
I land up in HR.
Okay,
that's
this
right.
is a good topic of discussion. Hopefully, if Chee-Wei has time, we're going to do season 6 next year.
Okay.
The concept is very, very different. We don't want to tell the audience, actually, but we will talk after this. But yeah, it's a topic, actually, that how did you, this is a very common question we ask, how did you land up in your job? But yeah, thank you very much, Chee-Wei, for your time. Adrian.
Yeah, and thank you so much for taking us behind the scenes. I must say today's conversation is very endearing because it's not every time you get to hear a local company in the context of Singapore acquiring and expanding and getting that global footprint. Because for the longest time, and I think many fellow Singaporeans would also be lamenting, we have so many crown jewels that just get sold.
Yeah.
Your Chartered Semi, your NOL. There was a time Charles and Keith was owned by LVMH, although I think they got back the ownership and all that. So, and to Chee-Wei's earlier point about a time where, I think I'm not global enough. But then your mentor actually gave you that perspective. And I think this perspective should resonate with everyone out there. We actually have the capability to go global. It's just a kind of self-limiting belief that we may have carried from, our childhood, education, wherever.
The mindset.
Yeah, the mindset. But in today's conversation, I think you can see that, of course, it's not effortless, a lot of work goes behind it and all that, but it can be done. It can be done. And I hope this would be the mark of even more local companies, really going overseas, providing and creating their own global footprint and continue to provide that example to lead many others going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chee-Wei, it's a pleasure talking to you. I don't know how many times we did off script, how many questions we asked, which you never thought we would ask, but you were gracious enough to answer. And I think in every question, the way you answered, the audience would have taken a lot of meaningful value out of that. So thank you for being on Rolling Stories.
Thank you
It's a
very
pleasure
much.
to talk to you and get your wisdom out to the world. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
And to everyone listening and watching this, if you enjoyed this episode, follow, rate, and share about Rolling Stories. We'll be back soon with more real journeys from the world of HR. Until then, keep rolling forward.
And remember, HR is not a cost center.